came here, thank you. I came here in 2008, so this is very interesting for me to see the development of Brazil, and also how you work in teaching and in the evolution of issues that there are studied. And this time, I'm presenting a kind of up-to-dating of the talk I gave 6 years ago, and is considering the evolution of industrial districts, mainly stressing what has happened, and also at theoretical level, how can we think about the evolution of cluster industrial districts and networks. And the perspective that I launch in the title is related to the two main facts that, in my view, are characterizing the last decade. First, the enormous process of offshoring, but in industrial district, in the last, say, years or 2 years, we have also reshoring. So, I mean, activities that have been placed in Eastern countries in China are now coming back to Italy. This is not so big, but it's a process. You still see some small tendencies. And the second is a very important process and connection of industrial district with the knowledge global circuit. So the two main phenomena is that the district open up, and on one side, they lose manufacturing and productive activities because entrepreneurs were following low labor cost countries. So a lot of, let's say, low-tech activities could be placed in subcontractors that were paying labor very little, and so all the firms could cut the cost. In China, in Romania, in Hungary, in Eastern countries, and also in all Asia. On the other side, we have to see how industrial districts were not anymore able to be self-sufficient for generating innovation. And they open up external linkages to absorb new knowledge, to maintain their competitiveness. This is the most important phenomenon. Then I start obviously with the literature on the origin of industrial district, which explain why small firms can be very competitive. And the reference is to Alfred Marshall, but also this morning we discussed why small firms are weak, why they are not able very often to have all information, why they don't, the economy is very, in many cases, is just occupied by giant firms. Because they have economies of scale, they have economic power, they are able to organize the distribution. So, in theory, small firms are a weak agent, in theory. But in industrial district, there are some synergies that allow the system to be very competitive, because firms can enjoy of division of labor, they can together cooperate to also the innovation processes and so on. So, in fact, the industrial district or the local system is the right dimension in which small firms can flourish. In the recent literature, we were stressing some important characteristics. First, there are many models of industrial districts. So we, in the past, we were, the ideal literature, the idea model was that there is the industrial district as a model. But the more we study empirically the different varieties of industrial districts in Italy, where we have many industrial districts, but also in Germany, in France, in Brazil as well, we discover there are many models. There are many models, and some are models with, let's say, vicious circle. So models in which the industrial district is declining, Or we have models where the industrial district is booming. Silicon Valley is an industrial district which is still booming. And it was able to boom in different technological paradigms. So it was booming during the 60s because it was working on the industry of war. So it was doing mainly military products. But then also after the new global transformation of the declining of the collapse of Berlin Wall and the declining of Russia, Silicon Valley was able to launch the so-called informatics revolution. So you see how an industrial district was able to move from, let's say, state-based demand to market demand of industrial products related to information and telecommunication. And nowadays, we also have the basis of a new type of services. Thanks to small firms, very dynamic in the American economy, you think to what? You think to Facebook. You think to Apple. You think to firms that are selling services and products or just services like Facebook. Facebook is an emerging as a big dynamism. If you look at the value created by this firm is enormous. So this is because, in fact, you have firms that took some ideas in the university and they transfer in business. Google, for instance, Google was created by 2 immigrants coming to the United States, being helped by the University of Stanford. They stay 2 years in incubator, then they become very large firms, and this is the best investment of University of Stanford to own 40% of shares of Google. So this is really technological transfer. So you help small firms to start. When small firms are successful, they become enormous. So Google has the same value or even higher than IBM. So you have a different type of models. Silicon Valley is something. If you look at the ceramic industry in Italy, you see a very different model. I discussed a little bit with the PhD student yesterday about the different industrial districts that you can find in Italy, in Spain, or in Brazil. The Italian is still leading the mechanical engineering innovation. The Spain become very important for the patenting of printing using not anymore colors as in the past for the tiles with the forno cottura, the manual, but they use a printing like the press. So they use a new system, a completely new system, when you use laser and you just print a color as you print a journal. So this was an invention and it was created through a collaboration with Japanese scientists and in Spain. And again, I have been told that in Spain there are a lot of innovation going on the phase of putting glass on the ceramic, and this innovation is also transferred in the Brazilian district. So the Brazilian district is, in one sense now, is much more connected that was in the past with the Italian producer of machinery. So machinery are still Italian, but the last part of the machinery comes from Spain because it's related to the very important patent that the Spanish firm have done. So they don't develop their technology, but they use the technology and they have a very interesting relationship. So there are no more industrial districts which are autonomous, but industrial districts are differentiated, and they are also in a different ranking from the innovation point of view. Then you have a very important analysis on cluster level architectural knowledge, because more and more the final product is not just produced through the knowledge provided by one firm, but is the division of labor, is the value chain that organizes the knowledge of all actors. So what is really important is the role of the final assembler, let's say, in the industrial district. So the industrial district has some focus firms who run the whole cycle, who design the product through the cooperation with different actors. So the important thing is not just the knowledge and innovation done in one firm, but is the innovation done by the coordinator. Let things to many important industrial districts in machinery. Some firms, some final firms are only designer firms. You don't see manufacturing, you don't see the product. They design and they also either offshore or they subcontract all the activity, all manufacturing activity. Manufacturing is becoming less important. What is important is the idea, is the knowledge, is the creativity which is behind. So clearly there is a big decentralization. So what was evocating this morning about the decentralization of the economy, disaggregation of economy is going on in very advanced situation. So you don't have anymore only large firms, you have also cluster of firms which work together but in a kind of decentralized way. This clearly stressed the division of labor between the firms and between the districts. So, for instance, I've studied, in this paper I quoted Belussi and Sedita, I've studied the horticultural district in Holland and in Africa and in Italy. And you see that nowadays there is an incredible big business related to the cutting flowers, roses, in Europe. All the market is covered by roses coming from Kenya. And the initial part of the cycle, the genetic innovation in plants is done in Holland. So it's the Dutch technology that then is transported in Kenya. In Kenya, they have been able to integrate the knowledge on the single seed with the knowledge of propagation of small plants. So nowadays the technology allows you from one plant to create millions of exemplars. And then you cultivate these small plants, these minimal plants in special laboratories. They are nothing to do with the typical agriculture. They are science-based firms. And then you have an important innovation in logistics to arrive with the fresh flower in the European market. So you have a lot of innovation going on. And you have a very advanced district, the Holland, you know probably the tulip, but this is not just one flower. The Dutch science has been very important. It is behind the success of also the Kenyan district. You grow up the flowers and then you need a very important innovation in logistics to arrive with the flowers at the right time. In Italy, we are not able neither to do the big science at the beginning of the value chain. We are growers, so we do the less technical part. We offer our soil, we offer our sun to producer in Holland, and we grow the plants. So the plants make a traveling in Italy to small plants, minimal, during the propagation. Italians grow the plants, and then they send back the plants to Holland, and Holland is distributing the plants in all the world. So you see a very interesting combination of heterogeneous district in which Every district develops specific capabilities, but not every capabilities. And clearly, the competence of firms are very important. And another interesting issue is the life cycle of the districts and the multiple path dependency of districts. So you have districts like the famous Emilia-Romagna district on carpi, or on clothing. Nearly it disappears. So he had 4,000 workers. Now he has 5,000 workers. Just in 15 years, he lose nearly all production. That's because they were not able. Historically, this district was a big exporter, but only because German buyers were coming to Italy to order products, fashion products, clothing. But these small firms didn't have the capability, autonomous, to go in foreign markets and to be able to launch their products in foreign markets. So as soon as China grow, all German buyers shift to China. Why have to order my product in Carpi? I can order in Shanghai or in Guangdong. And the cost is very little in comparison. You know that at the beginning, 10 years ago, the salary of a Chinese worker was $40 per month. So now it's 400, so the situation is different. But so Italy was not anymore competitive. But on the other side, we maintain in a good state the district of sports system, where we produce footwear, sports footwear. We are still producing also for large brands the production, the high quality production in sportswear like football shoes or shoes for ski or boots for special Himalaya climbing. There is not the same history for every district. There is not the same history. So you have a multiple path dependency. Some are able to change the product, to change their competence. Generally speaking, in Italy, we have that the district firms, they lose the cheap market in every sector, and they focus on high quality, low volume. So if you look at, if you go in Riviera del Brenta, you still find production. The production is organized by shoemakers that now are owned or they work for Gucci, Prada, and so on. So the high fashion, high costly firms. But the district is alive. And clearly, we also have to think about the life cycle. Districts are like babies. They are created, they grow, and some decline, some they are able to become older. A very important issue is now related to the fact that if Marshall was only thinking to small firms, the modern industrial district is organized differently. And we have a new phenomenon that I was describing with a paper written with Asheim. And this new phenomenon is the entry of multinational enterprise, M&A. So in the past, you didn't have M&A in industrial districts, but now you have it, M&A in industrial district. In every industrial district, you have two interesting phenomena. One is the M&A already created somewhere that penetrate the industrial district. Another phenomena which we were discussing in some research is the homegrown M&A. So M&A were able to create large firms. So the industrial district could give rise to a small group of large firms that are able to become leader in their niche market. And this is also related to the fact that industrial districts become open, enter in the global circuit of knowledge, so they were absorbing knowledge also through M&A. So the M&A was playing the role of knowledge integrators. So that M&A use the knowledge there, but also transport the knowledge from outside to inside. So the M&A can play a very important role to be the connection with the global circuit of knowledge. And this is very important because nowadays no one industrial district can be able to produce all the knowledge necessary to run the production. We have a lot of innovation going on, a lot of new knowledge has been created. ICT technologies has been completely changing the way of selling goods. And so you need to, all firms need to go away from their agglomeration and find knowledge somewhere else, in other places. We can have at least 3 important cluster model or industrial district model, and I will focus on the important transformation. Let's take the first typical Marshallian type of industrial districts. You see that in every industrial district you have the homegrown multinational. So let's say in Montebelluna you have Geox. I think you know Geox as a name, as a brand. Geox is born in industrial district near Treviso. It was a very small firm at the beginning. Nowadays, is Geox a firm belonging to the industrial district? Yes, but it's also a large firm at the same time. So you have this idea that in one sense the industrial district is not anymore characterized by a group of homogeneous similar firms. So this is a very important transformation, and you can have this transformation also if you take other sectors. In the ceramic industry, you have a Barazzi Group, for instance. Also in textile, you have the emergence of, let's say, Benetton, a firm that everyone knows, or you have Zara. What is Zara? Zara is a very interesting firm which is is organized as an industrial district in Spain, and the production activity are subcontractor in the area and in a small part of the Portugal, which is very near to the Spain, Castellón, where Zara is based. And Zara represents a typical industrial district, is a very flexible firm, is very creative. Nobody knows the owner, the face of the owner. It's a kind of very secret. I mean, the model, a lot of brand, but there is a governance, a very, let's say, silent governance. Then another type of industrial district was what we call the satellite cluster. You have a satellite cluster when you have a production without a big capacity of firms to put their product on the market. I'm thinking to the district in south of Brazil producing footwear. They grow very well when all buyers from Spain, from Europe was coming here, but they were never been able to build important distribution chains and so on. So they were satellite. So they are working only because external multinationals are going there to work with them, but they are not autonomous. In Italy, you have more or less the same phenomena. For instance, when you look at the Montebelluna Sport System district, because the Montebelluna went to Romania, to the Timișoara area, and they delocalize, outsource it, decentralize all the manufacturing. So you have again a satellite working with external multinational. Then you have the old model called by Markussen. I use his her. Markussen is a researcher, is a woman. Her model, her description of industrial district. You have hub and spoke. So you have activators, large firms that became activators or global supply chains, with possible near-shoring activities. In the case of Italy, our industrial district both practice near-shoring and far-shoring. So we use Eastern countries and China. The same was used by GEOS. GEOS used both at the beginning, Romanian, and then China. So you have all these things, but clearly near-shoring is very important, and it allows the firms to be more flexible. The Zara model is a hub-and-spoke. If you take we make a research on the literature on industrial district and multinational, and we arrive to three important conclusions. First, the entry of multinational is typically at the origin on the late maturity of the cluster. So, in many clusters of industrial district, there is behind a multinational, which has created the industrial district. This is typical of Guangdong industrial district in China. They have been created by multinational. Why in the Italian model, the industrial district was typically a spontaneous emerging of entrepreneurship. In the modern industrial district created in the 80s, in many cases there is a multinational heart behind this model. And secondly, very often the multinational comes in a phase of maturity of industrial district. They buy the jewels. So they buy the best firms local, and they, let's say, because the multinational are not very often good in the production. They are very good in knowledge creation and in distribution. So they still enter industrial district because they are looking for the competence, the capabilities that has been created by the small firms. So the multinational are entering in the late stage or at the beginning, in some cases. Also in Italy, we saw the case of Catania, where the arriving of SGE electronics multinational, ST Microelectronics, perhaps many of you know this firm because it produces microcircuits for a lot of electronics. This created a district of something like 5,000 workers, engineering, high-tech firms, and so on. So it created a district. So another important issue was that industrial district can create multinational. And this is an important wave toward industrialization and internationalization. Because clearly, to be able to cover the global markets, you need the size. So economies of scale, which in the past were very important in the manufacturing, at the manufacturing level, in the manufacturing phase. Now economies of scale are related on knowledge and are related on distribution, on retailing. So you cannot really go with your products in 70 countries if you are a small firms and you have 2 managers. They cannot cover. So you need, and in this sense, homegrown multinational are the way in which industrial districts are able to become international and also to go abroad with others because they can produce synergies with small firms because small firms can cooperate with the multinational of the district, with the large firm of the district, and they can sell to them the products that the multinational will place in the international market. So we need new parameters to analyze the industrial district, as I wrote in a paper with the Propis, with Elisa de Propis. We need to think at the industrial district as open systems, first. We need to look at the manufacturing activity that have been offshored and sometimes now reshored. And third, we need to understand the capability of absorption of knowledge, of recirculator of knowledge. So in this sense, we can say that now industrial districts are open districts, and they are becoming the hub of a multi-local knowledge and production network. So there is a kind of convergence between the idea of the network firms and the idea of districts. So in the past, districts were localized networks. Nowadays, districts are global networks, multi-local global networks. So the firms are very often present in many industrial districts. This is a classical example of global knowledge and how industrial districts are able to enter in new phases. This is, probably you have recognized, these are the famous Google Glass. Who is producing the Google Glass? Luxottica. What is Luxottica? Was small firms in the Veneto region, localized near Belluno, which during the time grow as a local multinational. And you see, so the industrial districts are not finished. They cooperate with leading firms. Now, I've selected some cases that I don't have time to discuss, but in which you see the multinational of industrial. I will leave this file so you can also, if you are interested, ask the organizer to have the file. So you can see how important has been the process of creating multinational within industrial district. Here we choose a sample of firms in China. As I mentioned, the Timisoara area, the Montebelluna area of sports system, and the Riviera del Brenta of women, very expensive footwear. Now, if we took this analysis as an important moment of a breakthrough of the literature or industrial district, of the evolution of industrial district, what policy can do in this sense? I mean, which is the reaction, which is the novelty in terms of opportunities of policy and so on? In Italy and in Europe, we are now thinking and developing the smart specialization policy. What is this? Is the idea that we have to move from a typical R&D based program in which the public money is spent only to support the research activity of large R&D based firms, and we need to focus on the synergies that can be created by in each area by basing on the specialization of that area, and by moving cluster policies into a process of develop a diversified specialization. So the idea is that we can help firms to diversify their product, and we can have a policy which does not only make a traditional innovation policy, but they try to find the integration of capabilities in the areas and develop the things. For instance, Let's think to the Veneto region. We have an important sectors related to the fishing. Well, what the fishing sector needs in terms of new knowledge? Do we need in every region a special program focused on biotech technologies? No. Let's say in the Veneto region, we focus on biotech applied to fishing. So the idea is that you don't make this, let's say, a standardized policy for knowledge, new sector creation in each area, in each region, but you look at the resources, the existing capabilities, and you work on diversification and to the upgrading of knowledge of the sectors that you have already. All activities that can be related to, let's say, to organize smart policies in connection with region branching and with the related varieties. And let's say putting together the different sectors and try to find the synergies. Clearly, you need to focus on entrepreneurial discovery. So there is when we are talking about innovation, you don't need only innovation in high tech, but innovation is very important in medium tech sectors and also sometimes in low tech sectors. But innovation must be organized not just in university, but using the capability of entrepreneurs to see the opportunities in the market. And clearly, the innovation journey must see the cooperation of firms, of universities, of regional institutions. So in the message that I would like to leave to you is that working on cluster policies of industrial district, in fact, is another way to build regional advantages, to build a conscious capability of a region to be able to create competitive advantage by promoting a kind of Chamberlain monopolistic competition based on product differentiation and on creating unique products. When I heard here discussion about innovation. The innovation is not just to make something new, but innovation must, if you want to be leader in the global world, you have not just only to do innovation, you need to make things differently for all other actors in the world. So you need not just to be adopters of innovation made around, but you need also to focus on your specific idiosyncratic competence and make innovation creating unique products. That's, in this sense, you distinguish. You don't, and you have few chances in all territory because, normally speaking, you have a standardized product. But then, in every area, you can find some specific things that are belonging to that area. That is the right place to work on building regional advantages. Clearly, constructing regional advantages can be a strategy created in all kinds of the industry. And we have to give reader, we have not just to focus on some sector like informatics, high-tech, IT, and biotech. We need to focus on innovation in all sectors. And clearly, it's very important to also organize our strategies, our policy of sponsoring innovation, giving money to firms or services to firms, considering the system of innovation. The cluster nowadays are not just anymore the right size for programming long-term strategy of innovation, you need to understand the relation of that cluster within the other cluster and to see the most ample spectrum of the region. So we think in Italy not just to develop a specific cluster policy for innovation, but to develop regional policy and to put some cluster together, because a cluster can have very similar needs. So you can, let's say, enlarge the size of the intervention. What about the existing and the future competitiveness? You have to strengthening the existing industries. It's very important to start with acknowledgement of what you have. So you need to support also incremental process of innovation, and you need to combine the different knowledge base of the firms and of the different districts. You need to upgrade existing industries and sometimes change the technological trajectories of firms. And so you need to, on one side, to make path extension. On the other side, you make path renewal. So you need, in some cases, to change completely the knowledge base of the system. Then you have to promote emerging industry with radical product innovation. And in this sense, you have in every region to make a new path creation. So what is important is to combine path extension with path renewal with path creation. So I think we have to, perhaps also Brazil could follow a little bit the European policy in these new strategies of understanding better the need of firms and to focus on the synergy and the lateral and let's say horizontal synergies that can be created and the innovation that can have this differentiation approach in which you don't just pick some sectors as let's say selecting potential winner in high tech, but you start with existing sectors and you try to improve this existing sector, finding synergies. And clearly the focus of the region is to facilitate regional diversification most than to try to create new sectors by the scratch. So this is a very important, let's say, lesson that the analysis of cluster policy in Europe and in Italy have suggested to me. Finally, broad-based innovation policies. From what I said, we have some consequences. More R&D driven innovation policies are not always the only answer, are not always the solution of the problem. You need to understand the region and to build regional, to construct regional advantages. There are many drivers of innovation, not just, innovation does not start only to R&D. You can have, you can find drivers of innovation starting from supply. You can start from user. You can start from latent demand. You can start from social and from social innovation. So you have to also to give the possibility, for instance, in let's say make innovation in cities. No? Transportation can be the result of a social innovation process in which you go from try to apply sustainable issue, then you also build new green technologies. But it's not just a process that you let develop to a single for individual firm, but it's something that can be organized through the participation of many actors. Clearly, you have to focus on many types of innovation, radical, incremental, product, processes. Let's say in textile. In textile, very important innovation nowadays in distribution. We don't talk about innovation in time, okay. Is the last? So not just innovation in product, also because the most important innovation is in brand, is not anymore in product. Okay, maybe it's also in chocolate, as I learned today, but this is not so spread. And then you have also, you can make a radical innovation in the way in which the firms approach the market. Think has a new business model. New business models are not necessarily a product innovation. They are a mix of product innovation and organizational innovation. Ryanair has not made an innovation in something. It has made an innovation in the way in which it has integrated a new way of buying tickets, using airports, organizing the flights, and so on. So this is very important to understand. So what I advocate here is a broad-based innovation policy, and important is to have also not a narrow idea on R&D, but something more horizontal, more lateral, that can stimulate the firms to change. Thank you.